The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, rel-mar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. My name is Rob McConnell. And, I was talking to my guest this hour about this damn cold that seems to be going along. And I'll tell you something. It's rather annoying. And, people talk about government conspiracies and this, that, and the other thing. Why doesn't somebody look into the conspiracy of the big pharmaceuticals or the cough drop manufacturers about this darn cold that you just can't shake? Mind you, I found the best solution is gargling with Jack Daniels and just take a swig of it afterwards. It makes you feel better. I don't know if it works, but what the heck. Frank Joseph is my special guest this hour. And Frank Joseph has published more books about lost civilizations of Atlantis than any other writer in history. They have been translated into 15 foreign languages around the world. He was the editor-in-chief of Ancient American magazine for 14 years, from its inception in 1993, and is currently a feature writer for the Barnes Review and Atlantis Rising. His series of foreign internet broadcast interviews with Shirley MacLaine were among dozens of similar appearances featuring Frank Joseph in the U.S. and Japan, where he was inducted into... Now, Frank, how do you pronounce that? Kyushu's Savant Society, a member of Chicago's Underwater Archaeological Society and the Oriental Institute of the University of Chicago. He is a veteran scuba diver with hundreds of subsurface dives from the Aegean Sea and Canary Islands to the Bahamas and Polynesia. He lives today with his wife Laura and Norwegian forest cat Sammy in the upper Mississippi River Valley of the United States. Joining me now is Frank Joseph. And Frank, welcome back to the X-Zone. Great having you with us again.
Thank you very much, Rob. It's a real pleasure and an honor to be back here.
So what have you been up to since you and I last chatted?
Well, what has most concerned me, I suppose, is all of the talk about the 2012 prophecy that is looming ahead in just less than about 2 years now, almost 2 years from now. And I was particularly interested in that because I knew nothing about it, but I was like everybody else, I was interested, and I read a number of books about what is supposed to happen. And, of course, it involves the end of the Mayan calendar. The calendar is supposed to end, and the end of the calendar is associated with some kind of a global event, supposedly. And I found that all of these books that have been published and are being published about the 2012 prophecy, they're all worthwhile. They all have something to say. They're not as contradictory as they may seem. They just offer different points of view on what might happen. But I did find that these books lacked something. And they all lacked, what did the Maya calendar really say? What did the Maya themselves really say was going to take place at the sunrise of the winter solstice, December 21st, 2012? And so I spent some time trying to research what the Maya, in fact, really said about that. And I recalled my first trip to Mexico back in 1986. I went to Uxmal and Chichen Itza and a number of other Maya ceremonial centers, the ruins of these wonderful cities. And it was then that I was introduced to the Mayan calendar. That was the first time that I heard of it. This is before it was really popularly known, mostly in the beginning of the 1990s. And based on that information, I wanted to pose two questions in writing my book. It's called Atlantis in 2012. And the two questions posed in that book are, again, what did the Maya really say about 2012? And two, what are the chances of something that they said were going to happen really coming to pass at that time? What does science have to say about that? And so that's those two premises that I based the book on.
All right, Frank, stand by. You and I have to take our first commercial break. Great talking to you again. X-Zone Nation, Frank Joseph is my special guest. www.mysticvalleymedia.com. And Frank and I will return on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break as the X-Zone continues from our studios in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Frank Joseph is our special guest once again. The website to visit, www.mysticvalleymedia.com. Frank and I return on the other side of this 2-minute break. Don't go away. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone broadcast network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies.
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows.
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net.
Hello, I'm Justina Marsh, and with my dad Pete, we are going to present a new show called Too Good to Be True. Together, we are aiming to discover more truths about this world and beyond. Do you have unanswered questions about the world? Do you ever wonder about aliens, conspiracy theories, or the universe? There are many shows discussing subjects such as pyramids or UFOs, but we want to relay this information based on our own research, including from spiritual means. Hopefully, listeners will be helped with their own beliefs and will appreciate the psychic insights that add to the previous research and information. We both look forward to sharing this insight and beginning this journey with our listeners. Visit xzbn.net for more information about when to listen.
X-Zone Nation, a good friend of the X-Zone, Frank Joseph, is our special guest at this hour. We're talking about the Maya calendar and the 2012 connection. And Frank, why is it that so many people are looking at the end of the Mayan calendar, December the 21st, 2012, as the end of the world, the apocalypse, the day that the world is just going to cease to exist?
Well, I think there's a lot of nonsense that's been put out about that, and maybe not so much nonsense. One of the things I think reason why people are doing this, I can only speculate, is that we live in a period of the disintegration of established forms. Our economy is unraveling, and you have things like General Motors and Fannie Mae and all these other pillars of our society just crumbling. And I think people feel that perhaps the basis of these great institutions was faulty to begin with, morally faulty, ethically faulty, and feelings of apocalypse are usually accompany feelings of social guilt, I guess. That's the only way I can put it. But the Maya really did say some rather dire things for the future, I must say. One of the things I learned is that, first of all, there is no Maya calendar in the sense that we understand it. They did not make a calendar, like something you put on your wall to tell you what days are coming up, what days have passed. They did not make a calendar. What we're talking about is an almanac, like a farmer's almanac, and that's what this is. The Maya did not invent this almanac. They inherited it. And this is according to their own sources. When I was visiting Yucatan and Uxmal and these other great places down there, I learned, and subsequently validated in the research that I did, that the Maya regarded their entire civilization as inherited, that it was brought to them from across the sea by a culture bearer they referred to as the feathered serpent, and that this concept of a foreign visitor who was in possession of a very high technology was known before the Maya to a people called the Olmec, and it was known after the Maya by the Aztecs and Zapotecs and Toltecs and so forth under different names. The Aztecs called him Quetzalcoatl, the Toltecs called him Gucamans, but it all means the same thing, the feathered serpent. And that name apparently refers to a title that he had and a kind of headgear that he wore. That's all we know pretty much for sure. And it was this figure at the very dawn of civilization in the Americas and Mexico who brought with him all of the high culture of a former civilization. And they referred to this place, the Aztecs did, as Aztlan, A-Z-T-L-A-N, which means the field of reeds. A reed was used as an ink pen, and it was a symbol of great wisdom, literacy. So if you had a whole field of reeds, it was a place, it was an allegory, in other words, a metaphor for a place of great learning. And this Aztlan, now this is the Mesoamerican records. This is the Aztecs and the Maya said. I don't make this up. That Aztlan suffered a natural catastrophe. And the feathered serpent, his family and followers, mostly what they called sorcerers, fled Aztlan, the field of reeds, before it sank into the sea. And they came onto the shores of Yucatan and bequeathed to the natives the high technology of astronomy, social organization, medicine, and the Mayan calendar, so-called calendar, this almanac. This story we find, as I say, consistently throughout Mesoamerica. Mesoamerica is an archaeological term. It refers to all those high cultures, the Maya, the Aztecs, and so forth, who made up Middle America. So what we're talking about is not a Mayan calendar. What we're talking about is a Mesoamerican almanac, and that Maya claim only not to have invented this, but to have perfected it, to have tweaked it and worked on it, just as other subsequent cultures in Mesoamerica did. And that's how I'm able to figure in the Atlantis story, because it sounds, from the Mesoamerican sources, from the Maya themselves, that they inherited their culture from a very Atlantean type of story. On the other side of the world, the Egyptians were very similar. They also claimed that their civilization was inherited by people who came from an island in the Atlantic Ocean, and their followers were led by a man by the name of Thaut, T-H-A-U-T. The Greeks called him Hermes, the Romans called him Mercury. And he possessed with him the emerald tablets of civilization. This island that the Egyptian forefathers came from is described in the Book of the Dead. You can get it from Dover and a number of other publishers, excellent translations. And the island is referred to in Egyptian as Sekeret Aru. Well, Sekeret Aru is interesting because the translation of Sekeret Aru is field of reeds, exactly the same that the Aztecs referred to the founding fathers' civilization. And the Egyptians also used a reed identically as an ink pen. And the field of reeds was also synonymous for a place of great learning. So now we jump forward in time to about...
Before we do that, can I just ask you a quick question here? Something just triggered in my mind when you were talking about the reeds. The story about Moses, being found in the bulrushes and the reeds, could this be a metaphor pertaining to the same thing we're talking about here?
That's wonderful you bring that up. Yes, absolutely. The biblical story of Moses, as a matter of fact, has been repeated in earlier cultures that preceded the Hebrew culture. There is the Assyrian culture that talks about the same story. They have different names, of course, for their prince. The Babylonian version is an early version, and there is an Egyptian, early dynastic version, also of a prince who is found in a field of reeds, and he later matures to become a very great leader of his country. Most people don't understand that the Old Testament especially is really a mosaic, a collection of these Near Eastern stories that are given a Hebrew twist, that they were not invented by the Hebrews.
That's
Scholars
right.
understand this now. This is not to detract from them in any way. It just means that they were able to preserve, matter of fact, it's to their credit, that they preserved these wonderful stories and put their own
spin on it,
spin on them, exactly, for their own purposes.
We also notice the same thing between Greek mythology and Christianity.
Well, not Greek mythology so much, I wouldn't say, but Greek spirituality. The Greeks had a number of mystery schools, and some of those mystery schools, like some of the ones that Plato talked about, also foreshadow Christianity in some regards. Christianity was also a mosaic idea that took bits and pieces of previous religious concepts, like Attis, for example. The Greek Attis is very much like Jesus, who dies on a cross and ascends into heaven and so forth. And it's just the general, I think, swing of mankind that these ideas mature. These ideas are never developed in a complete vacuum. They're always influenced by precursors in some way or another. And the story of Moses is most definitely that. Well, Moses also has these tablets that he brings.
That's right. Yeah.
It has the power of the gods, of God, of Yahweh, and to transform the world. Well, it's exactly the same, much older story of Thout, who arrives in Egypt with these emerald tablets that have all the sacred writing on them. It's an amazing story. And matter of fact, it's the same story again in Mesoamerica. The Toltec version was, they called him Wotan. That's a really interesting name, isn't it?
Sure is.
Wotan was a great flood survivor, and he supposedly had not tablets, but he had hides, animal hides, on which were inscribed all this great wisdom, later hidden in a cave somewhere. Interesting material, to be sure. I think that all these myths are recollections by pre-literate peoples of very important things that happened to them. And it's preserved as the only way they could, since they did not have writing. They preserved them in stories and myths. And that's why they endure over thousands of years. They enshrine not facts, but truths, and that's why they endure. So, and anyway, as far as the Maya are concerned, the Maya, though, they developed this calendar that they had received, and the theme of my book is, and I hope to have shown a lot of information to this idea, that Atlantis was a real place. It achieved very high levels of culture, and it suffered a natural catastrophe. Some of its survivors arrived in the Valley of Mexico, on the shores of Mexico first, and they did, in fact, spark Mesoamerican civilization, and they invented this calendar, or almanac, which the Maya subsequently developed and used in their own society. And the story of this almanac is based on 4 natural catastrophes, they said, 4 global catastrophes. And the most recent of these catastrophes they referred to as Tayasal, or the Great Flood, which brought Quetzalcoatl. And that 5,123 years after this flood, the Maya calendar was to end. The great cycles of nature were to end. This is what the Maya are saying now. This is not my interpretation or anybody's interpretation. And that it's amazing that they did pick this date of December 21st, 2012, our equivalent of 2012. It's amazing because we do know that something is going to happen on that day. I'll get to that later. Hopefully I have time for that.
Sure we will.
And the Maya said that what will happen on that day, as the sun rises on the 21st of December 2012, will be not only the end of their calendar, they just won't run out of time, but that Bolan Yokte and his 9 servants will descend on the world. We know that's what they say because a written inscription, so far the only known written inscription of what the Maya said would happen, has been found on the Mexican border in Chiapas at a very small Mayan shrine. And this inscription, which is mutilated, don't have it completely, but it does say that, was found, I guess, about 10 or 15 years ago. Well, who is Bol and Yocte, and what are his 9 servants? What's that?
Why don't we talk about that on the other side of the news, Frank? Please stand by, buddy. Always great having Frank Joseph with us. Very interesting gentleman. Good friend of the X Zone. His website, mysticvalleymedia.com. And Frank and I will be back on the other side of this news break. Don't go away.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies.
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows.
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net.
Frank Joseph is our special guest, X Zone Nation, www.mysticvalleymedia.com. And Frank, always great having you with us. Thank you very much for joining us tonight here on the X Zone.
My pleasure.
Frank, before we went to the commercial break, we were talking about the Mayan calendar, or should we call it the Mayan almanac? And they're saying that someone is going to be returning on December the 21st, 2012, and I was wondering if you could give us more details into that.
Right. The figure that they're talking about is Bol and Yocte and his 9 servants. Well, Bol and Yocte is the Mayan god of hell. He is their Satan, who's rarely seen. He's the epitome of destruction, the worst thing that can possibly happen, and his 9 servants represent the 9 levels of hell. They say that this is going to happen. There's going to be trouble with the sun. He's going to come out of the sun, a black area of the sun, and he's going to end time. Everything will be totally destroyed, wiped out. It will be the end of everything. This is what the Maya are saying. It's as dire as one could possibly imagine. The Maya never said this about anything else. They said that their calendar would not resume afterwards because there'll be nothing left. It'll be a final total destruction of mankind. They referred to this period, they gave it a name actually, Nahui Olan, or for Olin, or for Earth. This is the name of the end of our, what they call a sun. It's a period of time, lasts 5,123 years. We are now in the 5th sun, called Nahui Olan. Well, that sounds pretty terrible.
Sure does.
However, the Maya said that this is not inevitable, that it will definitely happen. They never talked about the destruction of the world or of the earth. They talked about the destruction of mankind, and really rough time with Bol and Yocte. Bol and Yocte is a metaphor. It's a poetic way of saying that we're going to be toast. However, the Maya said that it can be avoided if human beings return to the natural law. They said that these periods of destruction that the earth goes through are caused by human beings when they get out of sync with the law of God, and that the law of God, or the will of God, is expressed in natural law. And when human beings stray from natural law, the natural law snaps back and brings human beings to the brink of extinction. This time, though, there will be no brink. There will be no second chance. It's the end. However, the Maya said that if human beings as a whole, this doesn't mean every one of us, but they did say that if society begins to ameliorate itself, then this catastrophe can be avoided, because they said that the previous catastrophes were caused by human beings becoming self-indulgent and so forth. So that's what the Maya really said. That's not some take on it. It sounds pretty bad. They said, number one, there'd be trouble with the sun, and that Bolon-Yokte is a kind of solar demon. Now, what's interesting now, I wanted to find out, beyond this generalization, well, what do scientists say? What do scholars say about something happening in 2012? And I did find out an incredible thing. And this is not my discovery at all. It belongs to a fellow by the name of John Major Jenkins, who's done superb work.
In fact, we had John on last week.
Oh, he's a brilliant man. He's a brilliant creature. And the only thing I disagree with him on, his science is fabulous. There's no way I could even begin to debate him on his science. His math is superb. But his interpretation of the Maya, what they really said about that, I disagree with him on that. I just go on what the sources say.
Of course.
And he is able to show that on the sunrise of the winter solstice, December 21st, 2012, an event will take place, which takes place, astronomers tell us, every 26,000 years, or perhaps never again will happen, and never has happened. And that is where the solar ecliptic and the galactic ecliptic form a cross in the sky. Now, what does that mean? The solar ecliptic is the path of the sun across the sky as seen from the Earth. The galactic ecliptic is the plane of our galaxy as seen also from the Earth. And it's a kind of an illusion. It just doesn't mean anything in itself. The interesting thing is that this cross, when it appears, will form in its crosshairs, as it were, something known as the dark rift. And the dark rift is this area associated with the center of our galaxy. It's made up of, well, we don't know what it's made up of. Astronomers believe it's some kind of dark matter. But this cross that appears in the heavens on the morning of the winter solstice will go right over the dark rift, and the dark rift is where Bolon-Yokte is supposed to come flying out of. Now, for the Maya, or the Atlanteans, or whoever, but at least the Maya anyway, to have predicted from the perspective of over 2,000 years ago an astronomical event that will take place on that day is absolutely astounding. How they could have predicted something that takes place only every 26,000 years, or maybe never takes place except this one time, is absolutely mind-boggling.
Do you have any idea whatsoever how they did it?
It is only open to the wildest speculation. There is no way they could have observed the heavens over the course of 26,000 years to have determined this. The only way I can suggest, I might be completely wrong, is that they were remote viewers who were able to extend their consciousness not only over space but over time. And they applied remote viewing. For our listeners who are not familiar with this term, remote viewing is the ability to, through meditation and through guided meditation, to transform your consciousness so much that you can go beyond space and time, that you can see things, as it were, in the mind's eye, which physically you could not see. Now, this is not New Age craziness. The U.S. government has spent literally millions of dollars on remote viewing. There was a Stargate project, which began, I believe, in the 1970s, if I'm not wrong, that extended all the way up into the end of the 20th century and supposedly is still going on.
And, of course, Russell Targ, who's been on the show, was part of that project. And, you know, he was one of the founders of remote viewing. Quick question for you. Once again, you've triggered something. The cross in the sky on December the 21st, 2012, is there a connection between that cross and the symbolism of the crucifix in Christianity?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? That
it sure is.
Christ died, in order to fulfill his mission and to transform the world,
as well as to fulfill the prophecy.
As to fulfill a prophecy. I think that we're headed for a period in which a lot of these apparently divergent traditions are finding a commonality. But in any case, we do know for sure that this event, the cross of the galactic and the solar ecliptic, will in fact form a cross in the sky over the dark rift. I mean, that in itself is amazing. Now, what will that mean in itself? Nothing. It's only an illusion, as it were. Nonetheless, it's a highly significant illusion. So then I began to look further and to see, well, can we expect any dire consequences of what we're told will happen? Like some of the books about 2012 are saying that there'll be an asteroid collision with the Earth, or that the sun will have a great solar flare that will incinerate the Earth and so on, blah, 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 or the AIDS epidemic is going to wipe us all out. I looked into all these things. I found that although the Earth is in a kind of a shooting gallery, to be sure, as regarding meteoritic material and asteroids and so on, there's nothing really expected. There's no indication that the sun is going to have a great solar flare and incinerate us. There's no indication that we're going to have an asteroid collision or a meteorite collision. Could happen, but unlikely. The AIDS epidemic, who can say, but it's got a long way to go before it wipes us all out after 2012. Other books, of course, insist that 2012 represents the exact opposite, that there'll be the new golden age, that there'll be peace and love and harmony everywhere, and that we can look forward to a positive transformation of the world. Well, the way things are going right now, we better get our act together pretty quickly. I don't really see a golden age looming in the next 24 months or so. And besides, the Maya did not speak about a golden age at all. The exact opposite, the worst possible dark age, leaving only the possibility that if humans did get themselves together in time, they could avoid it. That's what the Maya said. I did, however, find a number of possibilities. We don't have time to enumerate all of them. They're enumerated in my book, however. But of all of the possibilities, real possibilities for trouble with the sun in 2012 is something known as a Carrington event. The Carrington event, for our listeners unfamiliar with this, goes back to the year 1859. At that time, the telegraph was only 15 years old, and the only places in the world where there were telegraphs were in Canada, United States, and Western Europe. On September 1st, 1859, all of the telegraph wires across North America and Europe burned up. They caught fire. They were incinerated, fried, for no reason whatsoever. Just went down. Nobody was badly hurt. There were a few people that were burned, not too seriously, and the wires were eventually repaired. But what on earth could have possibly happened? So the U.S. government commissioned leading scientists of the day to investigate the problem, because it's a very serious problem, of course, and to find out what had happened. Well, by the time they got to work on this, the U.S. Civil War broke out, and so people's attention was elsewhere. One of the scientists that worked on this problem was the name of Richard Carrington. He was a very brilliant creature. We don't know anything about him today. We're more familiar in our society with the likes of Tiger Woods and so forth. That's more important to us, apparently, than people like Richard Carrington. But Richard Carrington, nonetheless, determined that a major solar event was responsible for interfacing with the magnetosphere of our planet and then interfaced with the telegraph systems and overloaded them and shorted them out. He was 100% correct. It was an amazing deduction for somebody in the middle of the 19th century to figure out. And he determined it, first of all, by observation of the northern lights. the evening before this event took place in 1859 was the largest known display of the northern lights. They were seen incredibly brilliantly as far south as Cuba, which was very unusual. And he deduced that the appearance of the northern lights, the aurora borealis, with such intensity, had a definite relationship to what had happened. It wasn't until the very beginning of the 20th century, where science had advanced a little further, where they determined that Richard Carrington was absolutely right. They understood a lot more about the magnetic qualities of the sun and the magnetic qualities of the aurora borealis. The aurora borealis is like the cathode ray tube in your television set. When you turn it on, it's where electromagnetic ions are stimulated and form a light in a picture.
Frank, stand by. You and I have got to take our final break for this hour.
Okay.
X-Zone Nation, Frank Joseph is our special guest, www.mysticvalleymedia.com, and we'll be back on the other side. Wrapping up tonight here on the X-Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell. Once again, for more information on Frank Joseph, visit mysticvalleymedia.com. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Hello, I'm Pete Marsh. With my daughter Justina, we will be presenting the new radio show, Too Good to Be True. If something seems too good to be true, it usually is. But with the help of Justina's amazing gifts, we're going to gain insight into questions that don't yet have complete answers. Have you wondered who built Stonehenge and for what reason? Why are crop circles found in the same region as Stonehenge and elsewhere? Are crop circles a hoax, or are they created with technologies that we have little knowledge of? Who built the pyramids in Egypt and also in other countries? How and why were they built? Was the Titanic switched with the Britannic as part of a gigantic insurance fraud, or for more insidious reasons? What caused the Tunguska event when trees were flattened over an 800 square mile area in Siberia? Will the new insights be too good to be true? Well, that will depend on what you are prepared to believe. Please join us as we start on this journey together. For more information on Too Good to Be True, visit www.xzbn.net.
Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies.
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows.
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net.
X-Zone, our special guest this hour is Frank Joseph. His website is www.mysticvalleymedia.com. The name of his new book is Atlantis and 2012. Time's going by very fast, Frank. As always, great having you with us. How would you like to conclude this hour?
Well, just by saying that a Carrington event, which is this tremendous amount of magnetic material, electromagnetic material that's shot out by the sun, could happen again on the winter solstice of 2012 because we are expecting major solar activity, astronomers tell us, throughout 2012. It's conceivable that a Carrington event would take place. Our society is built entirely on electricity now. It would short out our entire electrical grid, and that could conceivably short out our civilization as well. It would not harm the Earth, but it would certainly topple Western civilization. And that's the basic thesis behind the book, is that a Carrington event is possible for 2012. It is inevitable that a Carrington event will happen again in the future. And it might, if it does happen on 2012, then the Maya apparently were proved right after all.
All right, let me play the devil's advocate here. What happens if nothing happens December 21st, 2012, and life continues as it does today?
Two things I interpret that as. One, that humanity has been, as a whole, able to pull itself together somehow, according to what the Maya would say. Mm-hmm. That's what the Maya would say. If nothing happens at all, that means that humanity, its better parts, are beginning to triumph. There's beginning an awakenment going on. This doesn't mean all of us or even most of us, but this is a general trend in that direction. Or, I believe, quite honestly, personally, that 2012 marks a delineation of some kind. I do believe that we are going to see some kind of change or fundamental shift that's going to take place after that time. I don't believe it's possible. Well, it is possible, but unlikely that something will happen on that particular day. It might, but I think that in the future we're going to look back on 2012 as a kind of delineation, as a mark in the sand of some kind.
If the Maya are right, the question is going to be, how did they know? How do we answer that?
That is the amazing thing. I only postulate that they were able to, they reached a very high level of remote viewing, which we are now only able to begin to understand, and that I think that they were able to project their consciousness beyond space and time. It's conceivable. I don't know that for a fact, but I think that they were capable of such a thing because we are now capable of it.
As I said, Frank, it's always great having you on the show. Congratulations on another great book, and I look forward to the next time. Please, let's make it a lot sooner than it has been in the past when you rejoin me here in the X Zone.
Absolutely, Rob. We'll definitely do it again a lot sooner. It'll be a lot of fun. It always is.
Frank, take care of yourself, my good friend, and once again, congratulations, and keep up the great work.
Thank you very much, Rob, and you too. You keep up the great work.
Thanks,
Great
partner.
work on the radio.
Thank you. X-Zone Nation, Frank Joseph has been my guest this hour. He's the author of Atlantis and 2012. His website is www.mysticvalleymedia.com. That's www.mysticvalleymedia.com. Well, that's it for tonight, everyone. I'd like to take this opportunity of thanking you, the members of the X-Zone Nation, for allowing us to be part of your day or night, no matter where you are in this great big world of ours. And you know what? It's that time of the year, so if you can dig into your pockets and help the people at your local shelter, your food bank, or your neighbors, please do. Whether, people need clothing, people need food. If we could only take this Christmas spirit and carry it on throughout the year, what a great world this would be, and I believe in us, X-Zone Nation. So until tomorrow night, always remember to keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night now.